歩くのは得意だった。かけたままだってごまかし笑っていた。足りなくて補って届かなくて、誰もがきっと見失って生きづらさの理由を知る。呼吸はまだ続くか。一息で貫くためには少し苦しいだろう。許せいっぱ我らが行くことを、今埋める時を見事かしゃぎきれても道だけは続いている。その美しさもあれにも大河に切れるだから残り数よせ集め、まだ進んでけ進んでけ夜を越えて。間違えたままだって歩くのは得意だった。かけたままだってごま。
Good evening. We are picking up roughly where we left off last time. Being some portion of the way through a New Game Plus run. Shing Shingon makes an honest appeal. His sole desire to see assassin defeated. Locating the hideout, Iori and Saber deal a grievous wound to assassin. Nothing tastes so sweet as victory. However, a new threat lurks in the shadows. Congratulations, Jigsaw, on being first. Hidden and yet unknown. And in particular, I'm looking out for digressions from Li Xuan. We'll just fast forward all the stuff we've seen in the previous timeline. thank you so much for the headbats. I appreciate them.
森へ向かおう。
Practice in the training grounds. We can do that. Today was... You know, I never did actually figure out where this guy ran off to.
なんだと。ところ腕が。
おお。
まった。
I never did find out where he ran off to.
行くぞ、より。
Yeah, I was gonna say, today has not been the world's most productive day for me. Basically, I got notice that somebody was going to be entering my apartment. And consequently, I basically had to sit around just waiting for them all day long. Because if I'm anticipating something like that, I can't focus on things. Eliminate any excess. Silly Yori, you already have Void Style. I see the spiral of the void and the infinite at the end of the path. And I'm dead. Yuri, is your training all done? It was originally for fire or void, yeah. I want to say fire. Yeah, that's all for now. Like, the Inner Darkness was using fire, so it was probably for unlocking fire. Yeah, that's all for now. Oh, good work. By the way, is your arm? This much movement is no problem. I told you not to worry, right? That's good to hear. Well then, let's head back home. Wait, Iori?
Saber.
Saber, what's the matter? It's no good, Iori.
Saber.
What? You mustn't throw away your kindness. In your meditation earlier, you threw away the excess in yourself, right? I know. I know what you want to achieve. That excess includes kindness and makes up your very core. We should both be happy about it. Your weak self became stronger, if only slightly. Growing stronger as you conquer the waxing moon ritual is truly worth celebrating. But no, it's no good. If you really do throw it away, then you'll... Saber? Kind, eh? That's what you call me? Yes. You're weak, but you're a kind person. You can truly consider the feelings of others. That's... not something that swordsmen need, maybe, but something that you should take pride in. Saber, it's true. I'm constantly trying to infer others' thoughts. I always act with the feelings of others in mind. But you've got it wrong, Saber. The reason I do this is not because I'm kind. Yuri. The reason is much straightforward, even easier to understand. Yes, It's simple.
単純だ。すべては
It's all so that I can win.
俺が
え
刀を振るい
I swing a sword to
勝
win.
つためだ。
I use techniques to kill.
は正確に
Accurately, precisely, without any deviation.
寸分眼前の敵を確実に仕留め
Understanding
る
is
ため
simply one step I must follow to fell my enemy with certainty.
敵味方の区別をつける前
Before
に
differentiating friend and
俺
foe,
は
I
相
understand
手を
them.
理解する。
Then I can kill at any time.
結局
In the end, it's my
つま
lack
ら
of
ぬ未熟
experience
者
showing
の
through.
だから
So, it's not the
言うと
kindness
ころ
that you
の
think it is.
確かに俺は
True.
たった今余分
I
を
did
捨
say
て
that
た
I threw away my excess. I
そ
resigned
ういう
myself to
覚
do
悟を
so.
単に余分な
I
癖
simply threw away an excessive
愚か
habit,
な無分
my
別を
foolish
捨てただけ
indiscretion.
だ
That's all.
牽制にも並ぶ
Our
かも
foes
し
are
れん魔
strong,
人たちを
just
相手
as
取る
strong
な
as demons or sword
もはや
saints. To stand against them, those thoughts are excess, a burden.
ならば
So I cut those things out of myself. I transform myself.
俺ただ
That's all it is.
それだけ
Nothing
の
more.
それだけ
Nothing more?
あ
Yes,
あ
nothing
そ
more
れだ
than
け
that.
のお前と
I do it for our
この儀に
victory in
勝利
this
するため
ritual.
だ
There's no need for you to be concerned.
そう
Is that
君
so?
は
That's what you have to
そ
say
う
then,
いうのか
Yori.
ねえ、二
Hey,
人とも
you two.
お話
Are you done
もう
talking?
終わりまし
If you
た
don't hurry, I'm leaving you behind.
ああ
Thanks for waiting.
待たせてすま
Let's
な
head
い
back home. Okay, they're definitely angling for something like the Shura route from Sekiro.
いおり
Yori,
君の心が
I can't understand what's in your heart.
私
And then he exploded.
いおり
Yori,
分かっている
I know. We've got to hurry, Saber.
兄ちゃん
Hey, I'll go too.
ダメだ
No, you stay right here for now. The implication is that Iori is more sociopathic than he lets on. Looks like no digressions, straight into a leyline conflict. There's Arya. I don't seem able yet to split with Saber. But that's okay. I'll make it work. Oh, never mind. Now we can.
セイバーいけるか
Alright, Saber can go this way, Iori will go this way. Saber go like that, Iori go like this. Saber's got it right already, so I don't need to direct them.
Yoshi.
I kind of wish that you could just, what's the word? Use a mystic code instead of having to throw it away. Once you hit your limit. And then they got cut off like me in a conversation. Sorry, I'm not being particularly chatty, I'm just kind of thinking about how to move. I'll just have Yuri double back. Saber will cut this one off. Oh, thank you for the head pass. I appreciate them. Ask her for guidance. I don't need to be told what to do. Saber going that way is correct. That's what I want. That's a lot of people. Sure would be a shame if they all died. I'm definitely feeling the increased speed of enemies that previously would have spent several seconds charging attacks. This is overkill, but it makes me happy. Outward, good way to put it. I do wish that I had an affinity technique that healed me. Given that I can generate affinity a lot more reliably than gems. And they're dead. And I'm not sure what that faction was trying to accomplish, but they're not getting it done. I like how one of the part-time rewards was just the normal rice ball. Oh, Saberback, why would I do that? Saber looks to be doing just fine on their own. You chose the wrong opponent, Saber says, with their sleeves sticking to their torso. I like how they used the Mystic Code to move one space. They didn't need a Mystic Code for that. They really didn't. And to Koshikawa. So given that in this route, Iori seems more inclined to do violence, I wonder if we're actually gonna get to like kill Chiemon early. Or if there really is just like one point of divergence. One way to find out, I suppose. Yeah, now that I think about it, this area, like the backdrop that I'm fighting in, seems kind of interesting to me because it seems like a series of scaffolds, like, built on top of a cliff so that you can, like, safely operate around here. But then it's built extremely haphazardly. It's like you'd think that if you were building something meant for safety, you would do it a little bit more robustly. Would I like a warning before the point of no return? Assuming that the game doesn't give me one itself, sure. If it's a spoiler, then don't tell me. It's probably gonna be really obvious, honestly. And then we exploded. Sorry, the texture of this wall kind of threw me for a loop. It's kind of sticking out from the rock to the left and right of it. Less that it looked aesthetically different and more that it looked like mechanically different, if that makes sense. Like it was shaded differently or had a different resolution. Something along those lines. Definitely not used to the new charge speed of the red moves. Oh well, we'll get there. Oh hey, it's Saber. Saber can watch while I do everything for him. Them, I should say. I do think it's kind of cool how, at a certain point in the story, Iori just kind of like flips the script with Saber in terms of who's powerful and who's not. And then I devoured all the magic in Japan. As one does. Return to Asakusa. Oh, right. I think last time I did Kawasaki Daishi, so this time I'll just do Todoroki. You think Kaya could be there? Perhaps. Yoshisetsu's involved in this. Then Lancer might have handed Kaya over to the shogunate. Got it. Let's go. Sounds like it's decided. Then we'll head south along the Tokaido. Understood. I'll be counting on you. Okay, Saber, let's go too. Praised vassals are in Todoroki. We'll have to fight if we run into them. It's always a good day when a ley line conflict passes through Ueno. Okay, Saber can go like this, Iori can go like this. Okay, Saber's got that correct. We can have Yori go this way and cut that guy off without a fight. Saber actually needs to fight this person, otherwise Saber will get cut off. And they're dead.
まあこんなものだろう。より
Like, honestly, sending humans into a fight where heroic spirits are involved just feels like being a really bad leader. Like, there's being willing to have the people under your command die, and then there's just literally throwing their lives away, accomplishing nothing in the process. Granted, I suppose, if you do see lives as worthless, buying even a few seconds at the expense of some people that you don't care about is rational, I suppose. Rational and sociopathic sort of way. Sabers got their thing going on. I have so many Earth Arts because I never use them. There's probably another way. There's way too much time on the timer for it to be anything else. Plus, I didn't get the thing out of my feet. And Oni. Oh, Noni. Thank you for the rotation.
遅いな。
And they're dead. It turns out even terrifying yokai die if you stab them 387 times. Saver passing through this area. We'll grab everything there. I have so many earth arts and I don't need any of them. Right, I haven't been here before. Will Kaya be here? Over there, somebody's collapsed on the ground. He was struck down by a single stroke. It must have been a skilled fighter. But the great samurai Shang mentioned have done this. Or perhaps, is this body one of those samurai? I feel the remnants of magical energy pretty strongly. It continues that way. Let's check it out. Onward. Have I been here before? I feel like I have. It just doesn't stick out of my memory at all. The companions of that samurai. It looks like they were trying to teach wizardry with the samurai, but instead of actually putting them into magecraft classes, they just made them watch Lord of the Rings. They're like, you should not pass. Now I'm imagining a Japanese dub of Lord of the Rings. So those were the samurai they mentioned. Which means it's as we suspected. Todoroki is being supported by Yui, right? Maybe so. Anyways, let's hurry onwards. I really don't need to pick things up anymore. It's just kind of nice to do it. The loot goblin part of my brain is pleased. More of them? Again, not a single one left standing. The perpetrator could be lurking about. Let's tread carefully. Ooh, foxes. Well, more like fish foxes, but you know what I mean. Must kill the warrior. Must kill the warrior. Warrior? What are they saying? I don't know, but they're carrying blades, so we press P about it, Yori. I wonder if this would be like an early introduction to Rogue Saber. Because isn't his thing that he's like the warrior of the sun? So they are wrong game. Curse these evil samurai. I can't face my lord like this. Why is the Onmyoji from Yanagawara here? It's nothing like Shosetsu's shinobi. Damn, we're getting nowhere with this. Huh? This presence, it's... puppets of the evil ogre. Some of you yet remain. Rogue Saber? You must be the warrior they were talking about. Well met, swordsman. Join me in felling these villains. I think that if we kill the Onmyoji that summoned them, we should be allowed to keep the foxes. And like train them to have legs and proper tails. There is nothing wrong with keeping Kurikitsune. The problems mostly start if you try to keep too many. Like if you just have one, basically nothing can go wrong. Did it get lonely? No, I'm there. And they're dead. Rogue Saber, thank you for your assistance. Not a problem. With a common foe, it is all but inevitable that we fight side by side. I appreciate it. But in a place like this, you need not concern yourself. My spirit origin is not bound by the yoke of the ley lines. So you're the same as the mighty berserker. You're also one of the exceptions. Heaven decrees that I stop the evil ogre. That is how I see it. But that decree is yet unfulfilled, and so these pitiful puppets come to cross swords. Mindless puppets bewitched by the evil ogre. There is but one mercy for them. Now I see. The Tsujigiri incident at Suidobashi, that must have been Rogue Saber's doing. The Shogun's retainers who were killed, were they all under Shosetsu's control? One question, Rogue Saber. You say your target is the evil ogre. This evil ogre, would it happen to be Rider? Aye, you are correct. The one materialized into the Rider class must not be loosed upon the world. Do you know Rider's true identity? Nay, but I can feel it, in my flesh and in my soul. It is an ogre. An ogre? Were it an ordinary ogre, there would be no concern. There are some who live peaceably. But that is an ogre who would lay waste to the world, a wholly evil being. That is to say, an evil ogre. Evil ogres must not be suffered to live. I think I understand what you're saying, and I have no arguments against it. Do you also pursue the evil ogre? To be accurate, no, not now. We're pursuing Lancer with a particular goal in mind. The cohort of the evil ogre. You seem certain about that? Does that mean that Lancer and Lighter really are? Aye, those two servants are in alliance with each other. Would you happen to know Lancer's whereabouts? I have to rescue my sister. Kanagawa Fort. She's there? Aye. You have my apologies. Huh? Apologies, why? Earlier, I chanced to encounter Lancer. I saw her master carrying a girl. That must have been your sister. Yes, most likely. I was unable to rescue her in the end. Therefore, you have my apologies. No, you've given us valuable information. That's more than enough. If anything, you have my thanks. Saber, let's hurry. I probably don't have to tell you, but when he said Saber just now, he meant me. I'm aware. Be off. Huh. Until next time. You can summon Rogue Saber from Todoroki. I do want Arya. Had I gone to Todoroki last playthrough, he would have revealed his true name after picking Kill and unlocked his soul with Phantasm. Good for him. So, like, is it locked to that decision? Like, if I don't pick Kill again, will Saber just not tell me his name? On second thought, my Saber, please go this way. Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh well. Ask Red for guidance, they say, as if I need the help. That Saber goes that way. I'll head back this way. Saber intercept. I like how Iori gets credit for that, even though Iori was not involved. I actually think I should have gone right. Oh well. Like, I really thought that he was him. Alas, he wasn't. Yeah, this needs to be taken. So, Saber can go this way, Iori will go this way. Other Saber will go that way. Oh, Charles, thank you for joining me 10 times in a row. It is greatly appreciated. Something that I find kind of interesting is that in the dialogue talking about Ryder, they call her an ogre. But then they just properly call the enemy type here Oni. I act only to fulfill my mission. Now Saber comes back this way, but will probably take a while. I'll just wait for Saber to take one more step. I will call Saber back. And then we'll kill everybody in Kanagawa Port. I like how that enemy samurai tried to like rotate at me. Unfortunately for him, it did not work. No, wait, this one is an ogre distinct from the Oni enemies. But I thought I heard Rogue Saber calling Ryder an Oni out loud. Oh well.
でもよいぞより見せてやれ。ほら行くぞ。
I think after this encounter, we're gonna take tonight's 5-minute break. I like the capes.
数を揃えようと我らを止めることなどできん。
Like, they're simple, but they're ornate. I like them. Alright, yeah, we're gonna take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom, anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. return. I haven't been paying as much attention to the plot, but I'm pretty sure that I'm almost ready to kill Kaya. Ooh, shiny. Give. Onganyama Castle. I wonder if that was one of the two things that Saber needed. No, it was not. Maybe Leishman? Nope. I will say, I don't enjoy playing as Lancer, but I love her aesthetic. I would totally have her as like an ally. Like, I wouldn't want her stuff for myself, but I would totally like keep her around. I appear to have burst into flames. Though I kind of wish that she just used one spear. Like, I know that she's a servant, but I really can't help but feel that, like, trying to dual wield two-handed weapons is, like, lowering her efficiency. You're kind of losing out on all of the advantages while keeping all the disadvantages. Oh well, not my place to judge. Clearly she feels it works for her. Except for the part where she tries to use it on me and fails and dies, but whatever. For a second I was like, do I soft lock? And Kaya. Speaking of Lancers...
遅い。
見くびらぬよう当たりません。見えています。
よし。
当たりません。見えています。悔やみなさい。
I may or may not be able to handle this fight on this difficulty level. I should probably use more affinity techniques in light of that. I noticed that using flame suffogation seems to have given me some sort of aura. He doesn't have the buff icon, so I wonder what that's about. If this fight continues at this pace, I'm going to lose it though. He's gonna finish chipping through my health before I finish going through his. Or I could do that and hit it with my Noble Phantasm.
その嘆きをここに。トリステス・トゥ・ラビアルシ。
That works. Oh, and then we start seeing the first, mind-controlled servants. I'm getting staggered so much it feels like I'm playing Monster Hunter.
なしとは。
Are you just got kidnapped? Quote unquote kidnapped? So it's not quite time to save her yet. It is, however, time to start working towards saving her.
出番だ。
待っていろ。
出番だ。
分かった。
I like how he's doing the Chuni eye cover thing.
すまない。
見せてやる。
力を借りる。
出番だな。息を合わせろ。
Maybe I just am not very good at this fight in particular, but I always feel like fighting Rogue Archer takes way, way longer than is actually tolerable for it to be fun. And he's dead.
Tei さんが人払いしてくれて助かったわ。こう大暴れされちゃう港もただじゃ済まないよ。さすがにここまでの怪力は想定外。彼、普段はこんなのじゃないんだけど。
加減を忘れたか、タガが外れた。いずれにせよ、敵の力を改めて測る必要があるな。そういうわけで、バーサーカー、まずはしばらく好きに戦え。なんなら倒してしまっても構わんぞ。できるならばだが。
へ
Yeah, this fight's already not going very well.
人を本気にさせるのがうまいんだから。
Granted, there were a couple of occasions where normally I'd have gone for a riposte where I didn't get one. And Musashi is dead. RIP. I really hope I retry from... Okay. I would have been really upset if it made me retry from Archer.
ここまでの怪力は想定外。彼、普段はこんなのじゃないんだけどね。
加減を忘れたか、タガが外れた。いずれにせよ、敵の力を改めて測る必要があるな。そういうわけで、バーサーカー、まずはしばらく
He's gonna slam the ground here.
なんなら倒してしまっても構わんよ。できるならば。
人を本気にさせるのがうまいんだから。
Okay, this attempt is going much better. And then he gets his shell back for free. Oh, flying archer. I'd rather be Musashi, honestly. I don't recall this fight from the first playthrough, but I also might just not be remembering it. No, no putting your shell back. Honestly, I'll just do that a third time. And then the Noble Phantasm comes out and burns down the port. We never did figure out who the Crimson Codex was. At least not in New Game. Also, we never figured out Caster. Though I presume that's in New Game Plus. Especially since Caster was, if memory serves, around before the ritual started. Which just raises even more questions. Search for the source of the spell, and is this light dawn or dusk? Dorothea Coyet searched for her enemy. With eyes wide open and an ear to the ground, she obtained information no mage could ignore. And speaking to a most trusted attendant, she repeated those words without a second thought. Yui Shosetsu? Affirmative. According to the report, Yui Shosetsu looks like a young samurai in his teens. But based on records, he has to be at least 30 years old. It's not confirmed yet, but his magical circuits do not appear to be human. I believe you should verify the details yourself to be certain. I suppose so. The opportunity should arise as the ritual progresses. Contact Father just in case. If this is true, we may need to prepare for detention.
承知いたしました。
Yes, my lady. What away?
まさかこんな東洋の島国に
I did not expect to find a homunculus on an island in the Far East.
作られた
An
命
artificial life form.
西洋の伝説とは
Not exactly the same as the one from Western legends, is it?
こたびの
This
そ
one
れ
seems to be crafted fairly well.
当然よ
Of
あれは
course,
高度
they
な
are the
錬金
pinnacle
術
of
が
alchemical
導き出しと
creation.
言っても
Although,
これは誰かが
somebody's
地脈
interfering
に
with the
干渉してい
meridian.
る
There's so much magical energy.
そうなんだ
Indeed, this must have been caused
手
intentionally.
がかりのないキャスター
Could it be Caster? No, I shouldn't jump to
魔
conclusions.
術の大元を探
I'm
るわ
going
よ
to find the source of the
朝日
stagecraft assassin.
この辺りも地脈
The
の様子
meridian
が
here
おか
is
しい
acting strange as well.
一
Just
体
what kind of
どんな
spell is
術
behind
な
this?
ともかく調査
Let's
する
find
わ
out,
よ
assassin. Alright. You know, I can't help but notice that we don't assassinate a single person as assassin. Which I feel is a missed opportunity.
うーん
Huh.
出所がわからない
Somebody
よ
warded it to make the source untraceable.
お前でも安
Even
ら
you
そう
can't break through? Heh,
私に
it'll be
挑戦
years
す
before
る
they can
なん
match
て
my ability. Well,
まだ情報が足りないわ
I still don't have enough information. It's a fiendishly complex piece of magecraft. I mean, they all seem pretty simple to me. They plug up a hole and it blocks off another hole. Assassin emoting like a Sonic Adventure character. Oh, I got more affinity. Oh, am I stuck on a bucket? Yes, I am. Assassin's unknown weakness. Buckets.
甘いわ
塵も残さぬ
無駄よ私の歩みは止まらないわ無駄私の歩みは止まらないわ
And then we just mashed until all the mushroom men are dead. We should at least try to patch them all up.
アサシン頼んだわ。
やれやれ。
助かったわ。ありがとう。生前のあなたも
I wonder if Assassin really needed to charge up to move himself like a foot forward.
あと少しなのに。
I'm so close. How can I still be unable to unravel this?
頼もしいな。
How reassuring.
一言多
Mind
い
your
わ。
tongue.
手を貸してやろう。
頼んだわ。
Like charging it for that one makes more sense.
やるわね。これで分かったわ。
I figured it out.
この
Kawasaki used the relay point for an
何らかの
elaborate
大魔
spell.
術脈を通じて流れてきた
Whatever
それ
flowed through the
を
meridian is
西
spreading
側
out
に引っ問
westwards.
題は魔
But I
術
still
がど
don't
こ
know
か
where
ら
the
来
spell
て
is
いる
coming
か。
from.
東側に
The
最も
thickest
太い地
meridian
脈が
passes
通っ
through
て
the
いる。
east. Perhaps I should check
So-
there.
アサシン頼んだわ。
やれやれ。
助かったわ。ここね。地
Here,
脈の異常
the
で
magical energies become
魔力がおか
unstable
し
due
な
to
こと
the
になる。
meridian's
魔
disruption.
術の大元は
The source of the spell is further north than
さ江戸
Nemi's.
市中の霊地のようね。
That leads to a spirit font in Edo's city proper, perhaps to an enemy base.
何者の仕業か見
If
当
I
が
were to
つけられ
guess, it'd
そ
have
う
to be a skilled magic user who knows Edo's meridians.
ほう。
Oh, who would that be? I'm just imagining giving all kinds of different stupid answers here. It's definitely Caster's master.
キャスターのマスター
Caster and their master.
主従
It's
とも
unsettling that neither
未だ
get to make an
姿を見
appearance.
裏で大魔術の準
But
備
they
を
could
していた
certainly
と考
prepare an
える
elaborate spell like
状
this while
況とは
remaining
が
hidden.
ライダーの主。
What about Rider's master,
あ
Yuishosetsu?
のホモンクルスな
That
ら
homunculus?
そうね
Yes, I believe it will be
容易
easy
に
for
成し
it
得
to
る
do
で
this
し
as
ょあ
well.
なたの大蛇すら奪
The
って
Black
みせ
Rider
た
also somehow
黒
took
いラ
control
イ
of the
ダー
giant
の点
serpent.
唯一小説の拠点もエロシチュー
Yuishosetsu's
にあったわ
stronghold is also in Edo proper.
いずれに
At
せ
any
よ
rate, if magic is involved,
はい
monsters, they must have been drawn in by the disturbance in the meridian.
あなたの出番よ
Time to do your part,
よ
assassin.
かろう。
Gladly.
役不足なくら
I
いだ
needed
と思う
something to do.
私の夢
Playing this assassin is definitely quite laborious and binding. They're like a swarm of pests. We're in agreement.
覚悟は良いか。
私の歩みは止まらないわ
Ha ha ha! らざるし不滅の蛇よ。
I do enjoy
伊吹大明神演技。
his evil laughing. It's important to have fun. I did not use my rice balls as efficiently as I could have there. Oh well. Oh dear, there's even more. I like how it's like, these are noble phantasm.
覚悟。これぞ伊吹の宮間より授けられし者。
It's like, clearly I got this far without knowing how and when to use that.
決心伊吹大明神演技。
Even being like, hey, remember you can use that thing is still, like, unnecessarily patronizing, I feel. It's like, yes, I do remember I can use that. I really, really don't need to be reminded about it.
覚悟は良いか。 覚悟は良いか。
You did well, assassin. We're done here. Let's hurry on to Edo. Oh, and that's when they meet Iori and Saber. 2 assassins. And is this like dawn or dusk? Intending to use her as an offering to see his own wish fulfilled, Chiemon abducted Iori's sister Kaya. But just as he gloats over his perfectly executed plans, unexpected pursuers closes in. We took the 15th servant so easily. What a letdown. Master, this isn't... Never mind. Yui Shosetsu's direction was to confirm the manifestation of the 15th servant. I did confirm it, and then I took it for my own. What's the problem? As you will. Shosetsu really wanted this kid, the 15th, as an offering to the waxing moon. Handing her over would be helping the enemy. She'll be my offering. I'll give her to the waxing moon and open the gates of hell. Master, somebody with incredible magical energy is approaching. Don't let them follow us back to the vase. Stop them here, Lancer. As you command, take the 15th back to vase with you, Master. Was that your lord who fled? If you stand with the evil ogre, I shall cut you down together. One of these days he's gonna mess up that like pre-battle pose thing and he's just gonna slice his index finger off. I'm sure Lancer does not appreciate being lit on fire. Like, been there, done that. No thank you. Not again. No, she canonically did not. That's Joan of Arc. She was killed by being burned at the stake. Depends on who you ask if it's a win. In what world is burning to death victory? I've never played Danganronpa, so I cannot say.
その嘆きをここに
I do know that at least for a while, Danganronpa was like the only thing that people online were talking about. That was a long time ago.
地獄をここに
Never mind interrupting his techniques with affinities. I need to interrupt my own stuff. Ah, you continue to resist. Then the rising sun shall lay you low. His noble phantasm. I must finish him before I am overwhelmed. And then I got horsed. That's a verb now. Fun fact, that's actually a feature more or less unique to English as a language, is the ability to spontaneously convert nouns into verbs. As far as I'm aware, no other language can do that. Like I just said, oh, I got horsed, and it's like, you can associate that with an action that just happened. And that's really only a thing in English. Speaking of horse, that horse comes out a little bit too fast for me to repose the way I like to. Consistently, anyway. At least part of it is I don't know his timings all that well. And part of it is I just don't vibe with Lancer. Okay, I might have figured out the horse timing. I dash right when it rears up and that gets me to riposte. He's also putting a lot of like weird pauses in his combos that make it hard to anticipate when they're gonna come out. He's basically fighting like a Kingdom Hearts character. Kingdom Hearts Sephiroth might win the Grail. Unironically, Kingdom Hearts Sephiroth... Well, maybe Kingdom Hearts Sephiroth could do it. I was gonna say, unironically, like, Sephiroth is too strong to be summoned as a servant. The rising sun shall lay you low. The only Kingdom Hearts boss you never beat? He wasn't that bad if memory serves. His main concerning thing was that one attack that set your hit points to 1. Oh, he goes even faster now. I'll give it one more try before I start messing with numbers. Because like, I'm completely convinced that I could do this. I'm just not convinced that I want to put in the effort that that requires. I got shenanigans. I made contact with the horse. I totally should have gotten that repost. Oh well. You saw trying when you ran out of whatever the full heals were. You might be referring to high potions, elixirs, or mega elixirs. It's like, aha, you knocked me on my ass. But in actuality, I will be the victor. My goodness, that is a fast horse. Did he shoot a blade clean of the ground? Yes, yes he did. Okay, that horse is far too fast. Can I change? Where do they hide the difficulty options? I would have expected it to be under game settings, but I'm not seeing it. I like how in the slowdown you can see that he's T-posing during his spin attack. I don't actually know what Pray for Mercy does. Oh, it increases the Noble Phantasm gauge. Good to know. I was like, if that's a heal of some description, I could use that. Alright. I'll try using the Noble Phantasm more proactively. If I can convert Affinity directly into it. Oh, that's like a full charge. That's really good, actually. If it's not a full charge, it's still a very appreciable charge. And more importantly, it's half of his shell gauge. Okay, it's not a full charge, but it's still a very big charge. Lancer's life flashed before my eyes there, not gonna lie. There shall be no horseplay in this fight. And he's dead. It's not over. The rising sun. Thank you for the hit tats. The rising sun shall never dim as long as ogres prey the land. How is a rogue servant this powerful? If this fight continues, I might even lose. A hungry servant is an angry servant. Perhaps I should feed him what he wants. Todoroki. Yeah. The location of the evil ogre, Lighter. That's what you want, isn't it? You... You would desert your ally to save yourself? While I dislike the idea of following your words, I have no choice but to accept. I must destroy the evil ogre, whatever the cost. Yeah, not gonna lie, I didn't think I was gonna get that done today. That said, speaking of getting things done today, that's gonna be it for the stream for today. Thank you so much for joining me, I really appreciate it each and every time. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Wednesday. I don't remember what I'm playing on Wednesday. I've genuinely forgotten. Did I finish something and not decide what I was going to do next? Hold on. Oh, I finished something and I never decided what was going to happen next. That's why. I was like, why is that slot in my head blank? But anyway, so yeah, next scheduled stream is going to be on Wednesday. Haven't decided what's gonna happen then. Next time I'm playing Samurai Remnant in particular is going to be on Friday. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night. I hope to see you again. Good night.